All right, chat. I have a bronze code. We're going to do in between the queues here, okay? Does that sound good, chat? Let me just load that up very quickly, and we'll be good to go, all right? All right. So, first of all, I know people have been wondering a little bit on where to, like, submit the bronze codes. Basically, if you join my Discord, there's a section in there called VOD Review, and you're able to then submit the codes there. So, this is a Gibraltar game. It's a pretty long one. They're currently in bronze. And we're going to be watching Orisa, Doomfist, and Sigma. So it's going to be a variety of different tank heroes here. And apparently it's a good game. I obviously, we're going to have to see what happens here, but we'll see. Now, the way the reviews work is usually, just for anybody new to like the reviews, what we usually do is we watch what's happening, well, you know, how the tank's playing, but we also, if there's like a funny moment, we kind of, you know, have some fun with that. So it's kind of like a bit of seeing some of the fun stuff that happens in the game and also being a little bit helpful with some of the other stuff that's happening. So we'll see how it goes. Apparently it's a 24-minute game, so I'm very curious.
Attackers incoming.
Let's just take a second here to look at the team comps we have.
Escort.
And it's always amazing seeing some of the team comps. I want to point out, right now to start this game, we are going with the Sigma, Ana, BAP, Sojourn, Pharah comp. Where's the synergy with that comp? I have no idea. But we'll find out. Against Torb, Ana, Mercy, Orisa, Soldier 76. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. This is a comp.
Barrier initialized. The payload moves toward its predicted outcome.
Enemy turret destroyed. Where's your dead tag?
Better.
Where was the Ana positioned at that they immediately got a pick against their Ana? I'm already curious now, okay? I just want to see, first of all, chat, in general here, when positioning-wise on this map, up here is a good start because you can go here with a couple people as long as they're able to get out, like, mobility-wise, but if you're playing Ana and you're over here, what ends up happening is that once they get even remotely any decent map control, it does not go well for your team. That's why a lot of people will start up here, which you would go up here, jump up here, and then go over there. That's how you do that. I just want to see this. I have to see what happens to this Ana. This is the start of the game here. So look at the position, and they're all kind of over here, hanging out. I mean, you know what? Listen, can't ask for a better start in your team. Can't ask for a better start. That was a res. That Mercy wanted that res, I'll tell you that much. So far, like, I want to see a couple more team fights here with like what your cooldown and ability usage is, but I can already tell one thing that I'm seeing. But I want to see a little bit more before I go into that.
I expect better from you.
That was a good play.
The barrier appears.
So far, like, one thing I want to say about your shields, and I'm just going to stop it here for a second. One thing you're doing with your shields is you're almost kind of just trying to throw your shield at them and put them in spots where, like, okay, you can LOS, but a lot of the time you can use a sight line where it will protect you and also prevent that sight line. You don't need to put your shields right up to them. Sometimes you can as Sigma, and it can be a good play. Like, say they were just standing up in that doorway, you can throw your shield up there, and that's a good sight line. But a lot of the time what you're doing is just throwing your shield in the middle of the open. But what's been the major problem we're seeing so far here with this shield? Like, what has been the major problem we've seen so far? Just to point out here, I'll go back on just a second here. I'll show you.
The barrier appears.
Okay, so that shield went up there around 459. All right, that shield's just sitting there. once again, it seemed like the idea you wanted to do was throw the shield, but you can do that from a further distance. And one of the fun things about Sigma is that you have a lot of range, so you can play further back. So watching this. We've officially hit the 10-second mark of this shield that is sitting here. It hasn't left yet. It's just sitting there. We're at 10 seconds already. That shield's just vibing. And there we go. So it took about, well, we'll say, give or take 14 seconds for that shield to finally be recalled, which they didn't do a lot of damage to it, but a lot of the time you can use your shield, like, basically just in front of you, kind of like a Zarya bubble. So the shield, you return the shield finally. That was a good rock. Slight suggestion, by the way, too, you can do. Whenever somebody slept in front of you, right? You can almost expect their team to really try to help their teammate. So that was a good rock, by the way. Yep, rock. But you can also throw your Sigma shield in front of, like, whoever is slept. So that way, think about it from their point of view. If the Sigma shield's right there, they can't help their teammate. You can then not only get the pick that you got, you can also help your teammates secure the limb on Orisa or whoever slept there. Or they kind of have to use a bunch of cooldowns just to be able to get that shield down. And actually what it can do is help your team follow up on that. But overall, that's just more like a play you can do in the future. That was a good rock. Also, another thing you can do is you can shield for your Pharah when they ult too, which can be super helpful. Hey, wait a second. We just talked about this. Hey, we just talked about this. There's the shield I was talking about. That is a good spot initially for a shield, right? I will say you have to be ready to react to the bottom right door if they go this way, but that's what I was talking about with the shield. That's a good location there because when they run out of here, look it. There isn't much they can do. Even if, like, somebody on your team's over there, they have to go all the way to the corner there. There you go.
Actuating the barrier.
So people... I've been asked, when is a good ult timing? When is a good ult timing? So we just saw them use Suzu, right? You now have your ultimate? Here's my suggestion on this one. Also, I have no idea what this lamp's doing up here. I didn't even realize this was your teammate's lamp. They decided to lamp them, just in case. Just in case, like, it's a distraction lamp? Blocking some damage? Right now, you have an opportunity for an ultimate here once this gold is gone off of Orisa. This is a good time. And for anybody wondering about when should I ultimate as Sigma, they just use Protection Suzu. All right, your teammate used lamp to zone them out, which is just a perfect lamp location. I'm with
you. Protecting.
Yeah, I have no idea. They just threw the lamp at him. It was just a part of their kit. They're like, you know what? This might do damage. This might do damage. So right now, in my opinion, even with Valk up, right, this would be a timing you could have. Now, obviously, your teammate, they just got your teammate, so you might not do that now, but those are the things you look for cooldown-wise. Shield. No. All right, good ult, but we're going to talk about that one after this game. We're going to go right back to that one, and we're going to talk about what that was, because there is something that you can do to counter that Orisa ult, especially when you're on Sigma. We'll talk about that when we return. So here, this is what I want to talk about. You get Orisa ulted as Sigma, okay? The first thing you wanted to do was ult. Now, the ultimate gets people in it, but one thing about Orisa ultimate is Orisa ultimate is essentially completely countered by shields. So one thing I like to do as Sigma is immediately drop a shield pretty much anywhere on the where Orisa's at. Obviously more towards my teammates, but if you look over here, no one's here. When you put a shield like right here, Orisa will get no value from that ultimate. Zero value. It will literally, it will, at the very most, it would take, what, 500 damage off the shield or something like that? because that's how much damage it does, 550 maybe. And that's it. Like, it will take 500 damage off the shield. And then obviously they can break your shield, but like they're not going to break your shield during that, for the most part. So, you know, your reaction was to ult, which the ult ends up being pretty good, don't get me wrong. At the same time, they still obviously have their cooldowns up by now, so they're able to Suzu out of it, which is why like that timing you had earlier was a little bit better. But you can completely counter that that ultimate with the shield, and then you can go into your ultimate right after, because just keep in mind that they use their ultimate right away. So when you ulted, they actually used their ult and didn't have gold, but normally, or every single time Orisa uses their ultimate, they actually get gold, so you can't actually lift them up during that. So if they held onto their ultimate even longer, you wouldn't even got the Orisa in that. Good play. So, I want to talk about shield usage again here, because this is what happened. When you're using your shield like so deep into their backline, this is what will happen, especially when they have an ultimate like Kitsune. So they go really fast with that ultimate. So if you put your shield well past them, they're going to run right past that. What you want to do in pretty much all situations against Kitsune, unless your teammates are like right here, you want to disengage out of it, right? And then you can just put your shield somewhere around here, and then you're going to be fine. But when you put your shield past them, which we talked about a little bit earlier, this is what will happen. They can run so fast that your shield... Look what it's doing right here. The soldiers shooting at the Pharah, so that's not going to get anybody. And then after that, they just run right by it. They can sprint right by. So just make sure you start to do things like that with your shield. Otherwise, this is what happens. Granted, it's a good ultimate. It can be tough to counter, but throwing your shield past them will not do anything right there at all. And then you're like, you know what? It's time for Hog. All right. If I see you use your Hog ult here against a gold Orisa, then you're going to get in a limb on Orisa. Because when Orisa uses gold, you can use your ultimate and just absolutely shred them. You know what I love about that? I could tell you were ready to predict they were going there with the hook, and you were committed to that no matter what their movement was. You know, the ult is interesting there because I get it. All right, let's talk about this for a second. When you use your heal as Roadhog, that reduces damage also when you use it. So if you use that, you don't want to do this. I'm going to show you what just happened and why you don't want to do this. Look at it from this point of view, because like obviously like you're playing aggressive there, which I mean it's okay to do that as Hog Sense, but usually waiting on cooldown is a better play. So let's watch this very quickly. You ready? All right, use our ability. I'm gonna heal up right here. All right, let's go. We're going in. We're going in. So now when we look at it from this point of view, you can see where the problem runs into this. Now, you go, well, I see Hogs do this. Yeah, but you use the heal prior. So if you use that heal prior, you're not going to have the damage reduction to heal yourself and get out with that, right? So you just went in. You're like, you know what? I'm a tank. We're going in. Let's go. So if you watch it from this point of view, they're like, get the Hog, and they get the Hog.
How to make the payload move once again.
That was a close shield. It was good.
It's go time.
There we go. There's a shield that I think Reaper's on the other side. But you at least used your shield that time. Here we go. Taking the scenic route. Look at eat.
Actuating the barrier.
Yeah, Braun?
My barrier is gone.
It's almost ult time. It is almost ult time. Okay, you're gonna get the soldier. That works. Yeah, Brock? Shield? No. Okay, so one thing you definitely want to get, you want to improve at with Sigma is your shield usage in those situations. Like, What you do there is you're shielding really late in team fights when you get into that situation. So if you shield earlier than that, you can actually use your shield to move around that shield and survive that. But instead, right, you kind of have your shield and you decide to finally use your shield, but look where you are and look where your shield's at. You're just like, hey, you know what? I'm hoping that this shield does damage to them. So if you use your shield prior, you can then use your shield kind of as cover, and then it gives you opportunity for teammates to push up there. Obviously, you're playing really aggressive to begin with. Sometimes that can happen when you use Sigma Ultimate. You kind of just end up playing aggressive. So here we go. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. It does not get much better than that. Now let's see. Do they set up in the spot the other team set up last time because they saw them set up there? Or do they go set up on the high ground on the bridge area to the left? Let's find out right now.
2, 1. Attackers.
Ready? Let's pause and see their setup.
Stop the payload.
The setup here is really, really good. He said even better than the other one, to be honest. The Reaper's low ground. Okay, so you're talking about the Reaper on low ground. Have you seen this? Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Even better. Okay, at this point, you have two options. You stay in this high ground and you just leave, okay? or you try to save your team. Now, we're going to look at what's going on here with your team. I would say it's probably best to get out of there. So it's just to talk about Gibraltar setup, and I can see what's happening here on both teams. Like, you want to set up it here because it has really good sight lines in this, but the reason why this spot works is because you can use the bridge to flank them if you need to. They have to go up the stairs here, and you get really good sight lines main, right? It's okay to start here, and you'll see, like, Widows and Sojourns go here because you can get, like, an easy pick, but overall, you want to probably start over there. This is what you want. The next play you have here is to just, ready? Just turn around and go that way. That's the only play you have left here. Here we go. Let's see what happens.
The universe does not.
You know what? You got to pick.
When the sun
Can't complain about that. All right. It's funny. I say that, and then they just run at the Sigma, and they get 2 picks. So I'm saying that one of the better plays there is to turn around, and meanwhile, they just go get 2 picks right there. So you know what? Great play, because those 2 picks are good. I can't even complain about that one. Listen, it works sometimes. Oh, they rest. Okay, now the next step of what's going to happen. So you got the 2 picks. Now we're running into a situation where, let's look where everybody else is. So do the 2 picks end up being worth it is the question. You know what? For that scoreboard it is. Let's go. For that scoreboard it is. And we'll return to that after this game. So the melody hits.
The barrier is here.
I mean, this is a tough retake. This is a fine. Like, there's nothing really at that point when you're retaking. That's why like it's so important to reset early rather than later, because then like you just end up retaking into that. Okay, I can already tell you what's going to happen here with that play. All right, so we need to talk about this for a second. All right, you went Zarya here. All right, you know what? It can work. I can see it. But the play that you made here, first of all, what is Bap doing down here? Second of all, Staying up on this bridge is going to be the play. Going down to them right now is the last thing you want to do. I want to show you why from this point of view. You ready? First of all, your Moira's like, yeah, no. First of all, you think I'm going to heal to begin with? That's not happening. Okay, I got a lot of DPS to do. I'll see you later. Your Baps out of LOS down here. I think they're still spawning from first point again. They were on the top of the stairs. Now they're all the way down there. All right. And your Echo and Reaper are just kind of in here like, yeah, so. What that does is it leaves you by yourself here. Now, Zarya now, especially with the nerfs, doesn't have as much bubble time, and so you can't actually be this far out of position, especially when you have 0 energy at that point. And this is what happens. Even if that Junkrat trap wasn't there, which it was, they still get you. And then look at what the Orisa's like. Oh, I'm gonna get that Zarya. In the meantime, your teammates are flanking now. The Moira's still over here. You know what my favorite part about all that is, by the way? I love how the Moira just goes into the team, DPSs, and then leaves. Like, exactly what we expected to happen with that. The Moira went in, threw a damage orb, DPS, and then just left. Like, look what we have here. There's a 1v2 where they're low. Reaper can win that team fight, and the Moira just left. They're like, I'll see you later. I ain't doing this. Oh, they went back in. They went back into the Junkrat trap. Watch. Watch this, watch this.
Let them up.
My suggested play here is this is what I would do in this situation. When they have a nano to Orisa, if you look at this angle, you'll kind of see what I see here. At this point, if you go for a nano to Orisa, and I think the best way to think about it is already hard to get in the limb on Orisa when Orisa doesn't have nano. Going back to that, when Orisa is in your backline nanoed here, when you were right here, you had an opportunity just to go into this backline. Like, if you look at the backline here, yeah, they might tire you, but then they don't tire your team. You have a chance to go onto their backline here, and look at your energy. You have decent energy, 74 energy. That's enough damage to get their backline. So I would recommend, like, in this situation, right when you decided, like, that Orisa's by me, just go forward here. And I know there's a lot there, but what you can do in those situations especially is you have LOSs right here you can use. So if you don't even want to bother with them, you can go right here, hide behind this wall, and then time your bubbles, and you'll be fine. Right? But when you turn back to go help them here, what happens is it gives them that value, and then the Junkrat gets that tire, right? There's different opportunity that could happen. So that's my take on that, is definitely go a little bit further into the back line and just go for that play, because at that point, there's not much you can do with that.
Surrender to my will.
What was interesting about this was and this goes back to this, the strategy of just kind of standing around the cart waiting for something to happen. This is what happened, and I'll show you. You see how, like, there isn't, like, any map control happen and things like that? And I think that happens over time, especially as you climb. You'll start to see more and more people go for map control. At this point, it's just, you're waiting on the cart for them to make a play. Now, that's what's happening, right? And I was watching that, and I was seeing what was going on. Like, you're just kind of waiting for something to happen here, right? And that's what happens. So, like, what you would want to do is take map control a little bit more. BAP is just going to be on the cart. They're not letting them push that cart. That's not happening. What ends up happening is that the only person on your team who actually goes for positioning is the one hero that actually won't be able to do any damage to them from a distance. right? So look where Reaper's at and look where they're at now. Yeah, maybe the Sojourn here because the Sojourn went for them, but overall, it's better to set up. And I think that, and let me see, this is in bronze. I feel like as you climb, you'll see more and more setup. Well, once again, it's been interesting to see some of this. So talking about, we're gonna kind of go back to this again, and this is something that I think you'll, especially with this VOD, you'll see a lot of it now. Is that you don't want to try to go into their backline like this when it's more about controlling this side of the map right now. You don't have to worry about going back here to try to solo their team, right? Jungle Queen benefits from playing aggressive, but you're better off starting with your team and then going in and making a play off of that, or at least being in a spot where your teammates can help you. Like, you stay in the back line here, and Orisa's probably dead in their team. You have the opportunity to stay around this corner, help your team, and then that gives you time to get back from spawn, right? But instead, you end up running into their back line. But the good news is you do have your ult soon, so I would stay on Junker Queen here because your ultimate will get value when you do get it, possibly, because they don't have a Kiriko. Okay, I just want to give you a little bit of a, this is a bit of a tip on Junker Queen. You threw your knife over here, which is, you can see the knife is still here. If you pull that knife back right away and still do the same play, you're actually going to get a little bit of damage with the AoE, which you're like, well, it's only a little bit of damage. You get your ult quicker there. You already have your ult at this point if you did that, and you'll still get that same carnage value. Just so you know, when you throw that knife there, bring it back pretty immediately. It will do AoE damage to them, okay? It's time. It's ult time no matter what. Huge ult. Unlucky on the Junkrat trap, but that ultimate alone got really good value. That actually, believe it or not, was a good ult. That was actually a good ultimate. You got value with it. Your teammates can follow up. It happens sometimes. Unfortunately, you can get CC'd out of your ult.
Good stuff.
I would not recommend that flank. Think about it if you're playing attack on this map as Junker Queen. There isn't many angles that you can have from this flank that would be beneficial to your team in comparison to being able to play closer to walls up here where you can use your carnage and then hide behind walls like here, preferably back here. That way you can survive. But when you flank, and as you can see, they had a good ultimate combo, so there's a chance you just lose this team fight to begin with. But as you can see on this flank, it's gotten to the point where they probably think you're a part of their team at this point. And it actually looks like that because they didn't react to that at all, and you managed to get in the limb. Honestly, I don't even know. All right, so we're going to talk about this a little bit. Now, remember that you can actually LOS the Orisa ultimate? So, if you were to actually back up a little bit to this side over here, you wouldn't have been killed by that ultimate. If you look at where you're at in position, you actually have a really good opportunity to get out of that ultimate. So kind of staying there and throwing your knife at them and then trying to ult them just will not work because one, keep in mind, whenever Orisa does ult, they use their gold, so you can't actually pull them out of the ultimate or anything like that. Two, you can just get out of LOS and not take any damage from that ultimate. But instead you stay there. Now, I guess in theory, what could have happened is you might have tried to back up and got stuck on the cart, which is what it actually looks like. All right. But they win that team fight. Just definitely try to get out of the ultimate as much as you can, especially with LOS, line of sight. All right, here we go. I just want you to see something here with that command and shout. You can actually, and I do this sometimes, and I've learned not to do it as much in Junker Queen. So you look right here, right? Using your command and shout early, it got you right here, but think about where the card is right now. You could have saved your command and shout to have a better retake here. And on top of that, yeah, you're here. As we can see, when you do that, yeah, you got out there, but you don't have your command and shout. You got on the limb. Good limb. Gotta give you credit on that one. You just ran out there and got on a limb, but I don't see a way that your teammates hold this. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think they're just gonna take this pretty easily. Yeah. Oh, well, that's a classic. That's an unlucky right there. Yeah, that was an experience. All right, we're going on to, we got more of this game. So far, we've seen, I mean, what tank haven't we seen yet is the question here. What tank haven't we seen?
Score.
They kind of, no, absolutely not. It seems to be right now in this bronze game that they want to set up on the ground below. That's what they've been doing, and it's just a very interesting setup. We don't see that too often. Did press escape if you say leave queue if I hit escape? Oh no, did I forget to queue? I didn't forget to queue. No, I'm in queue. I'm in a 20-minute queue. Either way, well, as we saw, they're setting up right here at the beginning, which it's very unique to see that because I don't see that happen a lot. But this is where they're having team fights. Just remember that when they have a Mei, they can easily get you kind of there and spawn. Just remember that with that team comp. Like, recognize what they have from that, and then just be like, okay, I'm not going to push too far in yet because they can just wall you off. And then when they use wall, you can be more aggressive. Now you have to kind of play a little bit more aggressive on the point. Ana's playing on your side of spawn, so that's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Their Orisa ran into your spawn. Now you've decided to go away from the Orisa to run at them, which actually, it's okay play. I still think you can get the Orisa there. I know it's a little bit different than like the Zarya play we saw earlier. Now you just want to stay alive on point. There you go. Yeah, this is the part where everybody got their ultimates and just ulted for fun. You windowed. Oh, that's a... Yep. All right, we'll continue on with the rest of that game after this King's Row. The Orisa ult could be really good here if played aggressively. Uh-oh. Soldier ult. Uh-oh. All right, time to ult in a second. Actually, no. Don't tell me they get off the card. Okay. I was going to say, imagine they all got off the card. Oh, that was an ult. So it would be better to... Okay, so just to talk about that ultimate a little bit, it would be better, instead of trying to counter the Orisa ultimate, to go at them over here and use your ult aggressively, like right around here, before you... Obviously, you haven't used it yet, but if you use it like here, that will pull them into your ult, and then they won't have an easy way to get out of LOS, if that makes sense. So rather than trying to counter their Orisa with your ultimate, which doesn't really... It doesn't play really into your ultimate, just ult like here, and you'll get way more value, and you can still shoot the Orisa while you wait for that to happen. I guess it really comes down to, do you get off the cart randomly at any point? At this point, you probably want to slightly reset a little bit, mainly because, actually, it's okay. You're using all your cooldowns, so now you don't have cooldowns. Hide behind the wall. There we go. Much better. Much better. Wait. Oh, look at this aggressive gameplay. Oh, you're in their spawn. If they get anybody in your team, that cart is... There's a Pharah on cart? Wait, what is happening? Wait, what the... There is absolutely just... Okay, a recommendation I have is... You generally don't want to try to counter the Pharah ultimate with an Orisa ultimate because you just can get the Pharah pretty easily in the air, especially in that situation. You're better off holding on to your ultimate and staying on the cart than trying to ult them. And the ultimate range does not push the cart. Even though you see the range on the cart there, that's what happens, and then look what happens, chat. There it is. There's off the cart. That's it. That's the end of that round. That's the end of that round. That's tough. Every time. Every time. You just went in. You did not care one bit about... You just went in. Would I recommend going in that aggressively sometimes? No. Did it work there? Yep. A good ultimate now. What in the world? They still had time to go to cart. Hey, you know what? Not bad. Not bad. Ooh. You know, it was a very interesting game. We got to see you play about 6 different tanks. All right. We saw about 6 different tanks right there. But I think overall what we learned from that whole review was that there's definitely some things you can work on with your positioning. I think that's one thing I would definitely work on. And 2, like, especially when you play heroes like Sigma, using your shield in much better spots. It feels like a lot of your positioning was just kind of all over the place in the middle of nowhere, or trying to flank his Junker Queen. Or like on Sigma, you would just put your shields in very like interesting spots, and on top of that, sometimes you wouldn't use it, or you wouldn't recall the shield. So I think things like that. Overall, I mean, you didn't play that bad. It ended up being a pretty fun game to watch. So can't complain about that. But yeah, I definitely would work on that initially. And positioning would be try not to take a 30-second flank on Junker Queen, and realize that a lot of tanking is about looking for spots in the map where you can kind of hide behind a wall and make a play off of that. And you'll probably get really good value out of that, in my opinion. So that's my take on that.